And I will be recording, so if you don't want to put on your video, you're quite welcome just to go to blank screen. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I'd like people to keep their microphones muted while I'm doing my speech and my reading, but then we can open up the microphones for Q&A and chat when all everything is done. So thank you for the people who did eventually turn up. And I'm really, again, very sorry about all that happened there, but this will be recorded and people can listen to it and watch it afterwards. So probably the majority of the people here have seen the purchase links before, so I can put them in if you need them again. And just a little bit of Christchurch humour. In case of an emergency, the exits are here, 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 here. Right. I just want to start off with a little bit of initial thanks for how we got here with Cinrak. And right at the top of the list is publisher and editor Catherine Lindoff, who I've now known for 4, 5, 6 years. I can't remember now. And it was Catherine who came to me with the idea for the book. So I really appreciate the effort that she's gone into a small independent press, the effort that she's put into getting this book out for me and the publicity and all that sort of thing. It's been a real learning curve for me, but I've really enjoyed it. Next on the list is Ruby Dan, who created the beautiful cover art for the book. And apparently she approached Catherine at WisCon last year, and once I saw her work on Tumblr, which was a series of animals and stars, she also had a capybara there. And I thought that was absolutely perfect. So I gave the colour work that I wanted on it, and it just turned out perfect first time. So Ruby has done an amazing job. And the third person I'd like to thank is Terry Roy for the interior work that she did on the book. These beautiful little bits and pieces, like the seahorse, which is absolutely gorgeous, and I love the tentacles as well. And there's just little bits and pieces all through the book of just little dabs of artwork. And apparently she was doing some of that work while sick in hospital earlier this year. So that's real dedication to the work. So those are 3 of the people who've been working on the production of this book. So I'd just like to pass it over to Catherine to have a few words now as the publisher and editor of Queen of Swords Press.
Okay. Well, first of all, congratulations. You know, this has been a really, really great book to work on. It's been a lot of fun. You've done a great job with it. I love the stories. Everyone who's read it loves the stories. So this has been a really terrific thing. And this came about because I was editing an anthology of pirate stories called Scourge of the Seas of Time and Space. And AJ had sent me one of the Cinrak stories for that. I fell in love with it. So we finished that book. I went back to AJ and said, hey, I know there's at least one more story. Are there more stories about this character? And we kind of went from there. And everything was kind of serendipitous from that point forward. Diane did indeed find me at the WisCon party and asked about doing cover art. And we went from there. Terry has done the interior design on all of the Queen of Swords Press books to date. So all of our print books have been things where she's put her own unique stamp on. So they'll have these little decorative elements. And but yes, she was actually in the hospital while she was working on this book. And I would get these kind of sad little notes, and I'd say, no, you can wait a few days. And she'd say, no, I can do this. And so she did. And it's fabulous and it looks great. So this is the first of the events that we're going to have going on to kick off the book. There's also a YouTube video on our YouTube channel of AJ reading from the book, and I'll post some links to that and the guest blogs that AJ's been setting up. There's going to be several of those. Next Saturday, we're going to be doing a Twitter chat interview on the Queen of Swords Press Twitter feed. I'll post that up there as well. There will be some giveaways. We have a Queen of Swords Press coffee mug too that matches the book. It has the book cover on it. So we'll have those out shortly as well. And yeah, lots of fun things to look forward to. Yes, 7 a.m. It'll be great. So anyway, so that's pretty much everything I have. So I'm going to turn this over to AJ, and then I'll post links out in the chat, and you can copy things off as you like.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're at the speech portion of the recording. So just bear with me as I get everything into the right place. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about the origins of where Cinrak came from and all the people who have been involved and where this all began. So the Cinrak stories all began with a rat called Orville, covered in marmite. Orville became a bit of a celebrity after starring in the Hobbit movies. He performed admirably under the harsh lights and eye of Hollywood. New Zealand's favourite breakfast spread, his makeup of choice to keep him safe and amused when grooming. In a light-hearted moment barconning at Au Contraire in 2016, we all joked Orville would be the rat guest of honour at the next year's con, which was Lexicon. So trust us Kiwis to take everything as far as it can go. And sure enough, rats were on the programming in 2017. This included a short story competition, and anything went with the story, just so long as there was a rat character in it. Now, I remember setting the blender of my brain on low. How could I write one of my usual very serious business stories about a rat? Of course I couldn't. So I was going to have to step out of my comfort zone, and I was going to have to dabble in whimsy, not the sort of thing I usually do. Now, inspiration comes from the oddest of vectors with me, and at Clarion in 2014, Jeff Vandermeer had the ARCs of his 2 books after Annihilation, which was Acceptance and Authority, and he was letting us read them and doodle all over them just for a bit of fun. And in one strange scene I wrote, a wild capybara appears. I'm not sure why I got into capybara. I think I was trying to think up a different animal to everybody else. I was also an avid Tumblr user back in the day. I used it for rabbit hole amusement and research as well. There was always some really interesting things about all sorts of things going on. And there was often a lot of posts about capybara and how they were really chill with other animals. And I would look at a capybara and I would think that, you know, with that square jaw and the broad chest, that they looked like a really handsome butch lesbian, if a butch lesbian was a rodent. So of course, now the pieces were all falling into place, and Cinrak was born, and Orvilla became her rat queen girlfriend. Now, I had no expectations for this first Cinrak story, so I made it as silly as possible, absolutely silly, because I don't write comedy. So I went, as you know, way past 100 on it. And it ended up winning 2nd place in the competition, in the short story competition. So that was all right, got myself a stack of books. So, okay, I thought I'll put it out on submission, see if anybody else likes it. And Beneath Ceaseless Skies picked it up on the 3rd run through the traps. So maybe I was underestimating my ability for sweet humour. It's not changing the world, I thought, but hey, it struck a chord. And as Catherine said just before, the Queen of Swords submission call for the Scourge of Seas of Time and Space anthology came up. So cool, I thought I'd written a rat story before, I'll do it again. And so I chucked into the brain blender again, what were the pirate tropes I wanted to play with? So the cabin apprentice, let's make him trans. The monstrous kraken, let's make her fun as a puppy. The treasure, let's make it a real heart. And a mermaid, no, it was going to be a merman, and he totally just swam out of drag ballroom. So, all right, Rodentdom was telling me we're having fun and we're going to go hard with it. So along came that second story, Search for the Heart of the Ocean. And Catherine liked the story and it ended up in the anthology. So that was neat. So even neater, along comes Catherine a few months later and she messages me saying that she's starting this line of minis for Queen of Swords Press. Shorter books with in collections. Would I like to try doing one in Cinrak's world? So cue me staring off into space going, wow, I've just been offered my first opportunity to publish a book. Could I turn this around, essentially a short novel's worth of words in a short space of time? Just had a few months to do it. And was I okay with my first book being completely different to the vision that I had for my career? So the answers were yes. I would give it the good old Kiwi try. And this was the opportunity I could make whatever of that I wanted to. I could sneak in that stuff about socialist unions, community parenting, trans healthcare, and environmental justice disguised as bad puns and snappy bow ties and a kraken who understands nothing about social distancing. Agnes just wants a hug. So this is where I thank my crit group, Andy, Octavia, Jacinda and Susanna for the infinite patience and excellent help as I went through multiple drafts of these new stories. And I mean multiple, I lost count. I was up about 6 or 7 of each of the stories by the end. And by the end of writing 5 new stories linked in the world of Rodentdom, my brain was so fried I couldn't tell what words were or if the stories were any good. I hadn't wanted to go down the usual pirate route of bloody battles and court intrigue. I wanted it to be an examination of Cinrak as a captain and what she went through trying to keep her family and crew together, about that special magic she has, the capybara chill, and being with all kinds of people, animals. Because in the last few years, there's been a distinct lack of kindness in the world, especially towards queer people. So that was really important to me. I didn't realise quite what tone I'd struck until feedback and reviews started coming in, and people were describing it as like a warm hug. And one reviewer compared it to Miyazaki, a Miyazaki slice of life, which made me go, oh yeah, of course. Sometimes you just don't know what impact a story will have until it's out there. You hope it will mean something to someone. But for so many people to say that they needed some sweet strength during these really hard times has been really, really touching. And I wrote these stories somewhat as an antithesis to the rise of the rotten orange, but they've also become something that we need right now, something that says we will pull through all of this, changed, if we just stick together. Slowly and suddenly, Cinrak has changed me. I'm often a very cynical person. I spent a lot of my life isolated from queer communities, isolated from understanding, running on harsh individualism and not really trusting many people. And Cinrak has brought people to me and taught me to slow down a little, stop trying to make feminist fetch happen with my stories, and find that balance between want and need. So there are a few people I need to thank for coming on this journey with me. Catherine Lindorf, first of all, for taking the chance on my strange rodents with bad quips. Anne Vandermeer for her depth of business knowledge and patient advice. My crit groups, the crustaceans and previously the clams. My friends from Clarion 2014 who are absolute rock. That includes Nino Cipri, who I thank for all their support and discussions about unions, which helped me big time when I was creating my pirate union. And also to my Clarion tutors who taught me to be open about opportunity, about taking chances, to not compromise where possible and write the stories of my heart. Thanks to my queer fam all over the world for listening to my brain farts and putting up with my failings. Sharing good times over food, sharing all the good books, the good advice, you all help keep me together. To Callum, who's probably listening from the other room. He's been putting up with my shit for a very long time, and he's always been there. And to you, smaller group, but hey, thank you for joining me today and for your interest in this book. Some of you have been on this journey with me for a very long time, about a decade or more. And also to Orville and his tasty Marmite hobbity fur, though he's now crossed the ratty Rainbow Bridge. Little does Orville know what he started. So thank you very much for listening. That was my story. Yay, yay, Elizabeth. Yes, that was Elizabeth Heritage's rat, Orville. She brought along some rats to Lexicon, and it was a really lovely time. Excuse me while I take a sip of my drink. Okay. Oh, I think I got a bug. Yeah, sorry, spider. Sorry about that. I hate spiders. Don't know where that came from. Okay, I'm going to read a bit now from the first story in the book, Young Cinrak. And this is the scene where Cinrak first meets her mentor, Merieg. Hunched in the overhang of the market arch, it had only taken 2 tries to hoist herself up. Cinrak stewed over the questions she didn't have answers to, and might never. Why had Hallett chosen to be an orphanage matron? Oh, her lectures! Cinrak felt like her fur would melt from boredom. Perhaps Hallett chose the matronage life to have a dedicated congregation. Get them young, as she said about pirates. Cinrak wanted to talk about these very important things, but Hallett said she had to wait until she was grown up. On the other paw, Hallett was always tasking her with growing up, boring jobs, telling her to grow up, be a young lady, stop climbing the oak. At what point was growing up enough? She took a bite of her stolen green apple and her spirits lifted. Today's light pour attempt was a win. Von Kruter had marked her a solid 6 out of 10 when she went back to pay. The ex-pirate who taught her these tricks had never given her anything above a 5 before. Why anyone would give up piratry for selling produce, Cinrak did not understand, though she did enjoy the air of mystery around the old ferret. As she left, von Kruter's granddaughter Cassilie had blushed in her general direction. Cinrak didn't know how she made girls blush, but she did, and she enjoyed it. The docks bustled to bursting point. People in frilly clothes conducted business discreet, frivolous, wanton, or intriguing, depending on the agent's intent. The fishmongers called barter shanties, throwing wrapped fish to customers. The taverns were already bursting with cheer, seapoors searching for a good meal and a bath. Shouts ahoy guided crates of wondrous stuffs from afar onto carts. Somewhere in that mess must be the person who would teach Cinrak how to pirate, to fight, and to curse. Hallett's stockist of esteemed theological texts had not received their shipment yet. The ship had barely begun unloading, and non-perishables were well down the list. What a shame, Cinrak thought. She would just have to find another way to procure Hallett's textbooks. Ah, there. A rat stood at the bottom of the gangplank, twirling their tail. Every now and then they toss an inventive curse at the handlers or squint at the frenetic activity surrounding one of the more salacious taverns. But otherwise boredom was writ large on their rusty brown features. Cinrak triple-checked her garb. With her baggy pants tucked into boots, frilly, if frayed shirt, and a belt with an oversized silver buckle, procured from the theatre rat oil scrap bin, she thought she made a passable cabin kid. Cinrak scrambled down, stood as straight as the oak had taught her, took a deep breath, then sauntered into the crowd. Exhilaration bubbled in her belly, much like her strange fizzle. She was one of them, a real pirate, blending like salt into the ocean. The bored rat looked Cinrak up and down with one keen eye, the other a silver scar from hairline to jaw. Stripped of her fur, Cinrak shivered. Great, you're a bit young to be around here. Their voice was rough and warm like a summer storm. All feeling left Cinrak's tongue. Old enough business to be doing with likes of you? A knife-like smile slid across the rat's face, twisting the scar. The sun hustled from behind a cloud, making everything too sharp. Shadows, once warm with promise, now were cold flashes with watchful eyes. The water slapped against the dock and ship impatiently. Ropes creaked wearily. The rat's smile softened, and the world snapped back into a single frame. All right, smarty pants. I like a sharp tongue on a young'un. Shows they got wit. They held out a forepaw. I be Merrig. Sweet, delicious air flooded Cinrak's broad chest. The rat hadn't given a gender signifier, so she switched her own dialect to civil to give her own gender signifier. My name is Cinrak. Don't have any other name. Having practiced with the oak, she grasped Merrig's paw firmly, but the pirate switched the greeting, clasping wrists. That be the pirate way. Cinrak, eh? No other name by design or because you're still choosing? Because I didn't get one. One could choose a name? Hell, it said names were ordained by the great capybara mother and stuck for life. Aye, understood, lass. Merrig wrapped their very long tail around their wrist. This close, Cinrak could see a light dusting of silver in their ear fluff too. Now, what busyness you be wanting with the cry havoc, feared by many, home to the loyal, decent few? Cinrak loved pirate ship names, and this one was a beauty. The vessel was a wonder of rock candy. Railings sunset yellow atop planks of midnight purple, doors and roofing blood red. The colours were not affectations of paint jobs renewed each season, but ingrained in the wood. A mer figurehead pinned the whole ship together, red hair whipping, green eyes shrewd and far-seeing. I have a client very interested in any books you have in your inventory about theology, the great capybara mother in particular. The great mother, eh? Merrig eyeballed Cinrak like they were stripping the meat from her bones. They rubbed the digits of one paw together. And what sort of fee we talking, if I let you be first to dig through them crates? Pirates will be pirates. 5% above what you'd sell them to market. The word shot out like Cinrak practiced. She marvelled at how the rat, someone low in the crew to be pulling watch like this, kept a sloth face. 10, 6, 7, 7, with first look at your next shipment. Merrig smirked. You be pretty good at this for a young'un. Almost think you got a bit of pirate blood in ye. Cinrak's spine crickled as she stood tall. Aye, Merrig had out their paw again. You have a deal. Come aboard and let's get cracking. And that was a bit from young Cinrak. Yay! Thank you very much. Thank you for listening, everybody. You can all unmute if you like, and we can chat and talk, ask questions.
I have to head off very soon, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say I am so proud that your lovely Puka Puka is part of Orville's cultural legacy.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Very exciting, and I will be adding it to my list of amazing artworks that Orville has caused to be in the world.
And thank you for bringing Orville to us and letting us enjoy him.
Indeed. So yeah, congratulations. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth.
And I will talk again soon.
Bye. Just unmuting people if you want to talk. Oh, I need some tea after all that.
Well, since nobody else is saying anything, I will say hi from California.
Hi, Heather.
I have been watching with great interest the Queen of Swords Press progress and development, and I'm looking forward to reading the book.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming along. Someone's got cranky kids, Cassie. So does anyone have a question or something they want to ask about the book?
Is there more Benj in it? Benj is my favorite.
Yes, he comes in Heart of the Search for the Heart of the Ocean. And then there's another story centered around him called The Hirsute Pursuit, which is about him finding trans healthcare because he wants a beard.
Nice.
He wants to grow a beard. And then he's in the last story as well, which is Flight of the Hydrochorus, which I adore that title because it's such a great pun. Because the Latin name for capybara, a Hydrochorus hydrochaeris. I'm going to eat a biscuit.
Well, AJ, since you have 2 books coming out this year, do you want to talk a little bit about No Man's Land too?
While AJ is finishing eating, I'll just say that I was so looking forward to this book that I actually went and finally updated my credit card information in my Amazon account, which had been expired for quite some time, so that would actually let me download the book. So thank you. You made me open up that long ignored letter from the bank.
Thank you for your
sacrifice
to the financial gods.
Yeah.
No Man's Land. Yeah, that's my other book that's coming out later this year. It's been put out by Paper Road Press, which is Marie's press here in New Zealand. It is a novella about the land girls of New Zealand World War II. And I've set it in North Otago because I know that area quite well because I have family that lives there, and they talked me through quite a few things about North Otago World War II. My granddad was in the Middle East in World War II as well. And it's a queer love story as well. And it's about these girls who discover they are shapeshifters and how they contribute to the war effort beyond taking the place of farmers, men on the farms, who had all gone off to war at the time. So it's a story of discovery, of love and themselves and magic. No Man's Land, June the 8th from Paper Road Press.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. Hopefully we might be able to do an in-person release party. We don't know what the lockdown in New Zealand's going to do.
Yeah, don't say that too loudly. The gods might hear you.
No, exactly. Yeah. And Paper Road Press has also put out Andy's novella, From a Shadow Grave, and Octavia's novella is out in 2 weeks, The Stone Wetter. So it's a great collection of novellas from that press this year. And what's the fourth one, Marie?
Is it a secret?
Sorry, I was just unmuting myself really slowly. Yep. We do have a couple more coming out, but they're just being delayed by a lot of the stuff that's happening. So our only other title this year will be the second edition of the year's best Aotearoa New Zealand science fiction and fantasy.
Okay. Because I knew you had some other novellas in the works, but cool.
It's a long pipeline.
So I had a question. Could you talk about the order of the stories? Are they chronological, or did you order them according to some kind of theme? Like, what was that kind of process for deciding what story goes where?
I originally wanted to do it in the order that the stories came out, but then the way the stories were I was writing them, it seemed more obvious to do them in chronological, because it seemed like I wanted to show Cinrak's growth. That ended up being more important than Wild Ride of the Untamed Stars was the first one. And I thought about that came out, and I thought about putting that first, but then it wouldn't have made sense if I was starting off with if I had a young Cinrak story. So yeah, it just fell into place eventually. It just made sense that it was chronological, because the whole story is about growth and then building their found family and the challenges that Cinrak goes through, you know, finding herself and finding her strength to look after everybody and look after herself on a micro and a macro level. So yeah, it ended up being chronological. Yeah,
Cool.
but it doesn't go from, it starts with Cinrak about 14 years of age through to probably about, I don't know, I'm going to say middle age, but I won't say old, because I'd like to think that I'm going to write some more Cinrak stories that might fit in, or be elder Cinrak. That would be cool. Older Cinrak, that would be so cool.
Right.
Thank you for that question.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favourite story in the collection and why?
Ooh.
Oh, it's a toss. It's a
Choose among your
toss-up.
babies.
Yeah, it's a toss-up between the Hirsute Pursuit and Flight of the Hydrochorus. As I said, Hirsute Pursuit is about Benj going to find this special magic that helps him grow a beard, so he can be a real boy. And Flight of the Hydrochorus is super whimsical and super, just I went as silly as possible. I don't want to give it away, no spoilers on that one, but I wanted to do something big with Agnes. I just wanted to throw her out there and see what she could do. I'm probably leaning more towards Hirsute Pursuit, because just this him having Benj running around going, "I'm getting a beard," is just so utterly cute. It just makes me giggle every time.
I have another question.
Yes.
Because names are a bit of my hobby. Where did Cinrak as a name come from?
I was wondering if somebody would ask her this question. I have this very odd way of making up names. I first go through a library called 20,000 Names online. And I sometimes try to match up a name that has to do with a theme to do with the character. And I just couldn't find anything to suit there. And I was just sitting in my chair in my office trying to come up with a snappy name. I wanted something snappy. I was thinking about how feminine names often end on a soft vowel, like an A or an E. So I wanted to end it sharp, so she sounded maybe a bit like a sword. And one of the first things that I was taught when I was learning marketing 30 years ago, cough, was about naming something for impact. And there are impact consonants like D and K and C. And so I started playing around with those consonants, and I went, okay, I want a C and a K. That would be a nice start and end of the name. So I just started playing around with letters and vowels, and it just kind of fell into place. So it was just a matter of getting out some consonants and making it a nice hard sort of a name. And that's how Cinrak came to be. Oh, I didn't get to say bye to Jess. Well, we've reached the top of the hour. So unless anybody else has got anything else they'd like to ask or talk about, I think we
What are
can.
you working on now?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
I have one.
Been very stressful the last few weeks, going into lockdown, transitioning to work from home, trying to keep it together. My brain is not in writing mode, but I have a plan. I have a novella series that I want to start working on, so I have something to pitch later on when I'm going to conventions in May. So yeah, I have a plan, but nothing right now. I have some stuff I could edit, which will help me slide back in, I think. Lovely. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Even though it's been a smaller group than I would have hoped, we all need a bit of joy in the time of chaos, and it gives us the work of hope to do. DeRay Mickelson says that hope is the work we do for change, and joy in the chaos, hope for change is what Cinrak is about. So I'm going to stop the recording now.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey.
Look,